So I'm here joined with, I believe your YouTube channel name is Cursed Paladin Artanicas.
Close enough. After all, it's Artanicas.
Welcome, heroes and villains, to Fjook Enterprises YouTube channel. Take a moment, relax, stop your bickering, and just enjoy the show.
I've never played the Fallout games, but I've seen a lot of. I know of them. I know the plot. I understand them generally. But how would you describe the Fallout games?
Depending on which of the various ones. After all, before 4, they had a skill system in place, as well as your perk tree system. The skill system would let you add in points into survival, big guns, and the like, which would affect how the weapons would work to a certain degree, as well as how your armor worked and whether or not you get past various skill checks, kind of like within the D&D campaigns and all that, as well as other various similar games that use that D&D type mechanic, like Star Wars Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic for a good example. But 4 and 76 remove that system out of the equation. And as such, they just left you with the perk tree system. The perks would modify kind of like the skills would in a D&D session, easy enough. Well, sorry, like your feats would in a D&D session, I should say. With like adding various modifiers as in the forms of positives and negatives. There's one called Solar Powered of Fallout 4, which gives you a bonus into your strength and endurance stats between the hours of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., which is quite handy if you want to have a little extra health and be able to carry a little bit more weight.
So have you played every Fallout game? Is that what I'm understanding here?
I have played more or less everyone. I haven't completed them all, but I have played them all to a certain degree. Unfortunately, 1, 2, and Brotherhood Tactics there, I wasn't able to complete them because my system got too advanced to be able to complete them properly. There was too much glitchiness within the software to run with the hardware.
So what was Fallout? What was the original Fallout like?
Um, the graphic style was much like with Diablo 1, if you've ever played that, or Diablo 2, with how you had it at a slight angle uh, with a 3D generated environment. Well, sort of 3D. And depending on how you set yourself up, you could have it either very easy or very challenging. Since, like I said, sniping people's eyes out, making them blind, made it very easy. Fun, but easy. While you could always just go the brute route of trying to smash someone's head in with a sledgehammer, which was a little harder. And they followed the same sort of course with Fallout 2, where it was in the same region, but this was like probably 50 or so years after the original's time period. I'd say, I can't quite remember properly, but you're the grandchild of the original character from 1. And you're meant to go forth to find a Gek, a Garden of Eden, Garden of Eden creation kit to restore the land around your village before everyone dies. Brotherhood Tactics was in the same sort of style format, since all 3 of these came out very close to each other's time well, back to back to each other, basically. So they didn't really change the design too much. But with tactics, you're basically trying to stop an army of robots that are being controlled by a supercomputer known as a Zax. And then Bethesda took control of the lease, well, the ownership of the franchise from off of Obsidian, and produced Fallout 3, which was the actual first person version of the Fallout games.
You've beaten the ones that you still work on modern computers then, right?
Yeah, 3, 4, New Vegas, and well, being what I've can of 76, it doesn't really have a end storyline yet to it properly.
So, from what I've seen of the Fallout games, they have attributes like strength and charisma. Do those affect the game drastically?
They can to a certain degree. Like, if you have a low intelligence, your character will actually bumble like an idiot. Will mispronounce words like crazy and everything. And people will react to you because of it a bit differently. While having a high intellect, you could talk like a bit of a scientist and all that to them, like, oh, you can twist this blah 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 to cause this fusion reaction to work this way instead of that sort of thing, and they go, oh, you're right, that is true, and they'll go deal with it that way. And kind of high charisma usually works pretty beneficial to most of the games because you're able to pass the various speech checks a lot easier without too much hassle. And it does change various bits. It affected components within the first 3 games without too much worries. It made for some interesting dialogue here and there. Like a high agility meant you were able to sneak around like a ninja pretty easily without too much hassle. From 3, New Vegas, 4, and 76, those attributes changed certain aspects, but you still needed various perk cards to augment them a bit better.
Do all the Fallout games have multiple endings?
Yes and no. They all do, but unfortunately, 4 never really did a proper cinematic like the previous editions for their multiple endings. You still have the multiple endings, whether you join the Institute on that, which is basically like the Enclave, or if you decide to join one of the other 3 factions, which are the Railroad, the Brotherhood of Steel, and the Minuteman. Each of those do have a slightly different ending to them, but they more or less still have the same ending in many ways, in the form that you've saved the wasteland and you've helped out this particular faction to do its goal in life, sort of thing, for their region. But you still get basically the same ending for each of them, except for a little footnote partway into the cinematic explain what the goal of that faction was.
You sound like you're disappointed in Fallout 4.
A little. Compared to 3 in New Vegas, they dropped the bar a bit with 4. And I've had fun with 4, I've enjoyed it in that, but there were certain aspects where they just dropped, where it just was less like subpar compared to what it could have been. Since with 3 and 4, 3 in New Vegas, with their endings, for a good example, depending on what you did, it changed how the ending was. Like one example, with New Vegas, there's a DLC in there called Old World Blues, where you can decide to join one side or the other, or just obliterate them all. And depending on which one you went, the ending would change to correspond to that. Another one of the DLCs in New Vegas was one where you had to, where you were trapped at this casino with this deadly mist, kind of like a Silent Hill style vibe to it. And there was a super mutant there with a split personality, which was dog and god. And you could either make dog the dominant personality, god the dominant personality, manage to convince the two personalities to join as one personality again and be a whole, or you could kill him. And the ending would change depending on it, where he'd be a raven animal one way, or he'd be complete and he'd be willing to go out and talk with other people and find his fellow super mutants and try and bring a better world. Or it would just say some adventurers, scavengers or whoever, found him later, what was left of him in the casino with his rancid remains, sort of example. And those sort of interactions really did make a nice little key point, since the karma system always made for interesting gameplay, and they took that out with 4, and they've still got it removed with 76, where your choices don't matter quite as much, because you could be as much of a dick, or you could try and help people out as much as you want. You'll still get the same result.
As my penultimate question, what is your favorite moment from playing any of the Fallout games?
Oh, pretty much the karma system in general, with 3 and New Vegas, as well as the first 3. Just how the interactions go with it. Like, it always brought something new to the table. No matter how often you might have played that particular game, you could always change up how things progressed and how everything happened to you around you as much. Like with New Vegas being a Wild West style one, being in the Mojave Desert, with the remains of Las Vegas being the main hub. You went from various little country towns that were south of Las Vegas and tried to help them out. There were 2 main factions in there. Well, technically 3 if you decide to join House. But you had the NCR, which was basically their attempt at re-establishing a government. You had Caesar's Legion, which was based off the ancient Romans, but they were basically raiders and slavers. And then you had House, who was a guy that basically integrated himself into his security system, and that while keeping his body alive in suspended animation for a couple of 100 years, sort of deal. Because he wanted to retain the power he had from pre-war. And you could help him reestablish that power base as his right-hand man. Then, of course, you could just go fuck them all and try and take power for yourself. But no matter which one of those scenarios you went with, you could always, because of the karma system, change your playstyle around a bit. Like, one good example. The first area you're in Good Springs. There are 2 outcomes to this region, to that spot. You could help the citizens of Good Springs to fend off this bunch of prisoners that escaped and formed their own little gang that would terrorize in the area. Or you could join those prisoners and take over the town. Those are the 2 outcomes. But with the karma system, you could be a complete dick to everybody, saying, I'm just going to murder y'all in your sleep, sort of thing, and all the rest to them. Help them out, and you might not get as much of a rep boost with them as you would if you were nice, but you could still do it that way with the whole ruthless approach, and it still works out pretty cool. And vice versa with the prisoners, where you could be all willing to help them out, being the goody two shoes, nice guy. They'll appreciate it and all, but you might not get as much certain interactions as you would if you were a ruthless dictator, deciding to slash a person's throat out for basically talking to you the wrong way. And some of the vaults were always fun and interesting to explore, like one of the ones in Fallout 3, which was Vault 106, where the air filtration system was tampered with, and they had hallucinogenics flowing through the air system. So you're walking around there and you start tripping out on these weird visions as ghouls are coming at you and all that. They did a similar thing in 4 with a particular creepy mine that was sort of based off Lovecraft lore. Some sort of weird demonic mine.
As my final question, do you have anything or anyone that you would like to shout out at this time?
Nothing really comes to mind properly, but I've been enjoying your pack reveals on YouTube there, easily enough, as well as your various interviews. So there's that. I've been having a good chunk of fun with the game of Chocobro here and there on certain things, but nothing too crazy, as well as a few of my various friends on Steam and that. I would say if you want to have a good little jump scare on occasion, having a crack at Grounded at the moment's a pretty good one, since it's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in a video game format. So that's always fun when you have to watch out for a giant spider that's going to basically turn your insides into mush. Yeah.
Don't forget to do all the YouTube Don't forget to do all the YouTube things like comment and subscribe, and go check out Cursed Paladin Artanicas YouTube channel.
Take care, everyone. Hope you all have fun.